Hello everyone. Today is June 14th, which is being celebrated as World Blood Donor Day throughout the world in order to thank the people who voluntarily come forward to donate their blood and to save millions of lives. We all know blood is a biological fluid present in humans and other animals necessary for the transportation of nutrients and oxygen throughout the body, as well as to carry the waste products away from those cells. Blood is indeed a gift of life which a person can give to another person. So in today's session, I'll be giving some of the information related to blood, its components, the genetics of blood, its inheritance, as well as the different types of transfusions. So I have divided today's session into following parts. First, we'll be discussing about the significance of World Blood Donor Day, facts of blood, systems of blood grouping, blood group inheritance, blood transfusion and its types, and the complications associated with incompatible blood transfusion. So let us study about the World Blood Donor Day. So every year, June 14th is being celebrated as World Blood Donor Day. Now, why this particular date is chosen? That is because it is the birth date of Karl Landsteiner, who is the discoverer of ABO system of blood grouping. So he discovered this system of blood grouping in the year 1900, and for his work he got Nobel Prize in the year 1930. So the celebration of World Donor Day was initiated in the year 2004 by World Health Organization in order to recognize and thank the individuals who are regular blood donors and also to create awareness regarding the significance of blood donation. So every year, this day is being celebrated under specific slogans or themes. So the theme of this year's celebration is Give Blood and Keep the World Beating. So let us study about some of the fun facts associated with blood. I hope everyone is familiar with this man. He is none other than Shakespeare. Now, if you have read his plays, the word blood appears at least once in every play written by Shakespeare. So probably Shakespeare must be very much fond of this particular word. Now, it is not necessary to have red colored blood in all the animals. There are certain animals such as lobsters, which is seen in this particular picture, along with spiders and snails who have blue colored blood. The color of the blood depends upon the pigment which is present in the blood. So in case of these animals, their blood contain a protein called hemocyanin, in which copper is the main component. So hence, the color of these animals' blood is blue. If you are a Hollywood film fan, you must be very much familiar with this particular character. So he is Mr. Spock of Star Trek. And this imaginal character has dark green blood running in his arteries. Now, is it possible to have dark green colored blood realistically? So the answer is yes. Surgeons operating on a 42-year-old Canadian man discovered the dark green blood similar to Mr. Spook. So initially they were shocked to see such a green colored blood, and later they came to know that it was because of a type of medication he was undergoing in order to treat migraine. Larger animals have slower heart rates than small animals. That means in large animals, blood takes more time to circulate around. For example, in case of blue whale, which is the largest mammal, its heart beats only 5 times per minute, whereas in case of humans, it is 72 to 75 beats per minute. An interesting study shows that mosquitoes usually prefer blood type O. So is it possible for the mosquito to completely drain a human of blood? Answer is yes. So it would take around 12 lakhs mosquitoes, each sucking once, to totally drain a human blood. Ancient Egyptians believed that wine was the blood of those people who dared to battle against the gods. They thought that drinking of wine makes people crazy and they'll be losing their senses. So, funs apart, let us see some important points related to blood. So, how much amount of blood is present in each individual? A healthy adult human has at least 5 to 6 liters of blood in his or her body. And blood makes up about 7 to 8% of a person's total body weight. And if you take blood, 55% of blood is made up of plasma and rest of 45% comprise cells. So among the cells, 40% are red blood cells, 1% are white blood cells, and rest 4% is the platelets. Blood also contains a number of metal atoms such as iron, chromium, manganese, zinc, lead, and copper. And gold too. If you take human blood, our blood contains around 0.2 mg of gold. Interesting, isn't it? But is it possible to sell gold out of blood? No. And yes, it would take around 40,000 individuals' blood to get an amount of gold which is worth selling. So let us not talk about that, but we know that every one of us are golden individuals since we have at least some amount of gold. Now all the blood cells originate from hematopoietic stem cells present in the bone marrow. Unlike the other mature cells of the body, RBCs do not contain nucleus, mitochondria, or ribosomes. And the life cycle of the blood cells vary. For example, RBCs circulate around the body for about 4 months or 120 days, whereas platelets have a life cycle of 9 days. Whereas WBCs, their life varies from few hours to several days. So let us study about the types of blood groups. So how many types of blood groups do we have? So as of 2020, in humans, 41 different types of blood grouping systems have been identified, out of which ABO system and RS system are the major systems which are required especially during blood transfusions. ABO system was discovered by Karl Landsteiner in the year 1901, whereas RH system was discovered by Karl Landsteiner and Alexander S. Wiener in the year 1937. Along with these two important systems, we are having additional types such as MNS, Kell, Lewis, Duffy, Kidd, etc. And all these blood grouping systems were identified based on the presence of certain antigens. So let's see about ABO blood group system. According to this grouping, there are 4 blood groups, group A, B, AB, and O. The classification is done based on the presence or absence of antigens, that is antigen A and antigen B. In case of blood type A antigens are present and B contains B antigen, and blood group AB contains both A and B antigens, and in O there are no antigens. If you take the plasma of these blood groups, group A contains anti-B antibody, group B contains anti-A antibody, O contains both antibody A and antibody B, whereas in case of AB, there are no antibodies. Now, since no antibodies are found in AB blood group, they are regarded as universal recipients who can receive blood from any of the 4 blood groups, whereas blood group O, since there are no antigens in it, that group is regarded as universal donor group. So they can donate the blood to the individuals having any blood group. Now this is how the blood types are determined using 2 antisera, antiserum A and antiserum B. If the blood group is A, agglutination will be seen in antiserum A because of the reaction between antiserum A, which contains antibody A, and the blood of type A, which contains antigen A. Whereas in case of type B, agglutination is seen with antibody B, and type AB shows agglutination with both the antisera, and type O, since there are no antigens, no agglutination is seen. The second type of blood grouping system is RH. RH stands for rhesus factor. The name is given since it was first time discovered in rhesus monkeys. Now, the identification is done based on the presence or the absence of RH antigen. About 85% of the individuals are RH positive and remaining 15% are usually RH negative. So, both ABO and RH blood grouping systems are very important, especially when blood transfusion is carried out. Erythroblastosis fetalis, which is also called hemolytic disease of a newborn, arises due to the RH incompatibility between mother and the baby. Now, this condition happens if mother is RH negative and the baby is RH positive. During pregnancy, usually embryonic chorion isolates fetal blood from maternal blood pool. So there is no mixing of the blood seen here. But at the time of the birth of the first baby, usually the chorionic villi will be broken and there is leakage of or mixing of the fetal erythrocytes with the maternal blood. So if the baby is RH positive and the mother is RH negative, the maternal B cells get activated because of the RH antigens. They treat the antigens as foreign bodies and they produce large amounts of anti-RH antibodies. So there is no problem during the first birth. So during the second pregnancy, the maternal blood will be having elevated amounts of RH antibody. So these antibodies are small and they can pass through the embryonic chorion and they will attack the fetal RBCs. So as a result, the RBCs of the fetus will be destroyed and that leads to jaundice and other ailments. and finally it may lead to death of the fetus. So in order to avoid that, if the mother is Rh negative, after every delivery, miscarriage or abortion, she is given with an injection called RhoGAM, which blocks those antibodies and avoids these consequences. The gene which is responsible for the type of the blood group is identified as I. I stands for isoagglutinogen. And this gene has three alleles called IA, IB, and I. So the individual can be either homozygous or heterozygous for the condition. For example, in case of type A and B, the individuals can be homozygous with two same alleles or heterozygous with two different alleles. Whereas in case of AB, both A and B alleles are coexisting together, whereas O phenotype or O blood group doesn't contain both these alleles. However, there is one rarest blood type called Bombay blood group, in which phenotype and genotypic expressions are different. In this case, the individual will be genotypically either A or B groups because they will be having alleles responsible for A blood group or B blood group, but they will be lacking one antigen called H antigen, which is responsible for the expression of A and B antigens. So these individuals are phenotypically O. But there is a major difference here. O blood group individuals are lacking antigen A and antigen B, but they are having antigen H or H substance. Whereas in case of Bombay blood group, along with A and B antigens, the H antigen is also absent. Now this is how this type of blood group can be identified. So the normal O positive individuals, they won't show agglutination with antiserum A and antiserum B, whereas they show agglutination with antibody H. And in case of Bombay phenotype, the blood do not show agglutination with any of these three antiserum. So it is possible to identify this particular blood group using one antiserum called anti-H. Now this particular group is very rare, and in India only 50 individuals are said to have this particular group, and the name was given because this type of blood group was identified for the first time in Bombay in the year 1952. Let's see how exactly the blood group is inherited in humans. When ABO system was introduced for the first time, people used it as a tool to solve paternity disputes. But in 1952, around 50% of the paternity cases were failed because of the false allegations or because of the false results. The test will tell whether the individual is the father of the baby or not, but it won't tell who exactly is the father of the baby. So nowadays, this method is not used in the paternity dispute cases. Let us see what are the probable blood groups kids have if father and mother belong to a particular blood type. So if both father and mother are type O, all the children will be having only blood group O. And if any of the parent is A and another one is O, they can have either O or A blood group kids. All the four types of blood groups are possible if the parents are having blood group A and blood group B. In that case, all the four types are possible. So let us see about the blood transfusion. So what is blood transfusion? It is administration of blood or one of its components through an intravenous line to a patient, and the blood reaches the patient's vessels and enters into the circulatory system. Now, why we have to go for blood transfusion? It is done for various reasons, such as to restore the blood volume lost due to hemorrhage or during accidents, to replace the clotting factors, to enhance the wound healing process, to improve oxygen carrying capacity, because the blood cells are the ones which act as a vehicle to carry oxygen to all the cells, to restore blood elements that are depleted, such as WBCs, RBCs, etc., and also to prevent complications during surgeries. So how we will come to know that there is a need for blood transfusion to an individual? So for that, number of lab tests are recommended. The type and cross-match lab test is done based on the ABO system, in which positive results show that there is incompatibility between the two blood groups, and negative test says, or negative result says that there is compatibility. Now this is done in order to determine the primary blood group and to screen for antibodies, and also to check whether there is compatibility between the donor and the recipient. Hemoglobin count. In males and females, there is a fixed volume of hemoglobin to be present. In males, the amount of hemoglobin is between 140 to 175 grams per liter, whereas in females, it is between 123 to 153 grams per liter. Suppose if the hemoglobin level in male decreases below 130 grams per liter, and in female, if it decreases below 110 grams per liter, then the blood transfusion is recommended, because hemoglobin carries oxygen in the blood and the oxygen level will decrease because of the excess blood loss. Hematocrit is another lab test, which is again having a fixed value in both males and females. In males, the value is 41.5 to 50.4%. In females, the reading is between 25.9 to 44.6 degree. And the critical value means either the level is decreasing below 18% or the value increases beyond 54%. In both the cases, the blood transfusion is recommended, because hematocrit value measures the proportion of the blood volume occupied by RBCs. So it decreases if there is blood loss or if there is anemia. In that case, transfusion need to be done. And the next lab test is counting the platelets. So healthy individual will have around 150,000 to 400,000 cells per unit liters. And the critical value is if the number decreases below 50,000 cells. And platelets are important, especially to initiate the coagulation process. So if the platelet count decreases, there is increased risk for hemorrhage. So let us see about types of blood transfusion. So either the whole blood is transfused or a specific components are transferred, and the transfusion of specific blood components is called apheresis. So in this, the blood is drawn from the donor. It is allowed to flow through an apparatus in which a particular type of component is retained, and the remaining part of the blood is reintroduced back to the donor. So what are the specific components that can be transfused? They are RBCs, WBCs, platelets, albumin, and fresh frozen plasma. Now, when whole blood transfusion is done, it contains all the components such as RBCs, WBCs, plasma, platelets, and clotting factors. The purpose of whole blood donation is to replace the lost volume as well as to increase the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. And this type of transfusion is recommended when there is significant blood loss in an individual due to hemorrhage, in which more than 25% of the blood is lost. It is also used to treat the newborn babies who suffer from hemolytic disease. Packed cell blood cells. In this type of transfusion, RBCs with little plasma are introduced where the hematocrit value is more than 75%. And along with this, some platelets and WBCs also remain. So why specifically RBCs are transfused? In order to increase the RBC mass and oxygen carrying capacity in an individual. And it also helps an individual to get rid of carbon dioxide and other waste products. So this type of blood transfusion is done during symptomatic and chronic anemia, as well as to restore the lost blood due to injury or surgery. The next type of blood transfusion is the transfusion of platelets, which contains platelets, plasma, and some amount of RBCs and WBCs. So the purpose of doing this type of transfusion is to stop the bleeding because platelets are involved in clotting process. And it is very much essential for coagulation of blood. So when such type of transfusion is recommended, when there is decreased platelet count, hemophilia, thrombocytopenia. Now, thrombocytopenia is a condition where the platelet count decreases drastically in an individual. So, in that case, platelets are, or in that case, this type of transfusion is recommended. It is also recommended when there is platelet dysfunction, in which the number of platelets remain same, but they are unable to perform the function, which is happening during the end stage of renal diseases. So WBCs or leukocytes suspended in 20% of the plasma are transfused in order to increase the number of WBCs and also to replace the WBCs which are not functioning properly. And this type of blood transfusion is done during sepsis, which is a condition of severe infection where individual is not showing any positive response to antibiotics. And if an individual is suffering from persistent fever, in that case also it is recommended. And those individuals which are suffering from granulocytopenia, this type of transfusion is done. Now, granulocytopenia is a condition in which there is decrease in the peripheral granulocytes such as neutrophils, basophils, and eosinophils. Fresh frozen plasma is also extracted from the whole blood, which contains plasma as well as all the coagulation factors. Now, this is used in order to increase the blood plasma and also to replenish the clotting factors which are lost. Now, when such type of transfusion is done, if there is a patient who is suffering from coagulation factor deficiencies, burn victims, individuals with liver failure, and the ones who are suffering from severe infection. Albumin is also extracted from the blood in order to increase the volume of the blood in the patients. Now, the indications of this type of transfusion is during hypoproteinemia, where there is drastic loss in the protein, burns, shock, trauma, surgery, and during certain infections. So, what are the precautions need to be taken before transfusion? First, there should be compatibility testing of the blood type and Rh factor between the donor blood and the recipient. So the blood product need to be properly inspected for any type of discoloration, leaking of the packet, or the presence of bubbles. The expiry date and time need to be checked, as well as the unit number on the unit of blood and on the form. Let's see who can donate the blood. For example, A positive can donate the blood to A positive and AB positive individuals. A negative can donate the blood to both positive and negative A and AB groups. B individuals, B positive, they can give the blood to B plus and AB plus. B negative individuals can donate the blood to ABB, both positive and negative. O positive individuals can donate all the 4 positive groups, whereas O negative individuals are the universal donors. They can give the blood to all the 8 types. AB positive individuals can donate their blood only to AB positives, whereas AB negative, they can donate the blood to both AB positive and negative. So what precautions need to be taken during transfusion? So during transfusion or when a recipient is receiving the blood, the vital signs need to be monitored closely during the process. The IV site need to be inspected properly to check for any kind of swelling, as well as some signs and symptoms for a reaction need to be observed. And after transfusion, the materials or equipments used need to be immediately disposed, and the patients need to be observed for the improvements, and the laboratory values are checked for effectiveness of transfusion. What happens during incompatible blood transfusions? So there are certain adverse reactions reported based on the type of the response shown by the recipient. So let us see about all these types of the adverse reactions, how it happens, and how it is detected. The first one is acute hemolytic reaction. This type of reaction is seen within 5 to 15 minutes of blood transfusion, which occurs mainly because of the incompatibility of ABO and RH groups. And how it is detected? So the recipient will be showing a number of signs and symptoms such as increased temperature, chills, headache, nausea, chest pain, hypertension, anxiety, disseminated intravascular coagulation, and the appearance of hemoglobin in the urine, which is called hemoglobinuria, and the destruction of hemoglobin, which is called hemoglobinemia. As a result, there is decrease in the hemoglobin content. Delayed hemolytic reaction is seen after 2 to 14 days of blood transfusion, where the cells of the immune system of the recipient responds to the non-ABO antigens present in the donor's blood. So the signs and symptoms are fever, decrease in hemoglobin level, hematocrit value, and increased bilirubin levels because of destruction of the RBCs and jaundice. Febrile non-hemolytic reaction is seen within 30 to 6 hours after the completion of the transfusion, and this is due to the sensitivity to leukocytes or platelets in the donor's blood. Symptoms are fever, flushing, chills, headache, and muscle pain. Allergic reactions are seen in 5 to 15 minutes of initiation of blood transfusion and up to 1 hour. It's mainly because of the allergic reactions against the plasma proteins and antigens present in the donor's blood. And symptoms are the appearance of redness in the skin, which is called erythema, urticaria, which is the appearance of skin rashes with itching, then coughing, nausea, vomiting, respiratory distress, wheezing, hypertension, and in extreme cases, loss of consciousness and cardiac arrest. graft versus host disease. So the onset of this adverse reaction takes days to weeks, and this is due to the attack of the donor lymphocyte on the host lymphocyte. There are skin rashes seen, fever, jaundice, liver dysfunction, and bone marrow suppression. Circulatory overload occurs if excess amount of blood is transfused in excessive rate. And it can happen anytime during or within 1 to 2 hours after transfusion. And signs include dyspnea, which is nothing but difficulty in breathing, cough, headache, hypertension, tachycardia or rapid heartbeat, increased central venous pressure, and distended neck veins. Sepsis is due to bacterial contamination, and it can happen during transfusion or up to 2 hours after transfusion. Symptoms include fever, chills, abdominal cramping, vomiting, diarrhea, and hypertension. So what can be done if such type of reactions are seen? So if immediate adverse reactions are seen, immediately the transfusion need to be stopped. The recipient's vital signs need to be checked. Physician should be notified. And it is also very important to notify the blood bank about the blood product and also return that blood component. And the recipient should be given with appropriate medication depending upon the type of the reaction. So in those adverse reactions, based on the symptom, certain medications are recommended such as epinephrine, antihistamines, antibiotics, antipyretics, analgesics, diuretics, and corticosteroids. Is there any effect of donor DNA on recipient during blood transfusion? If RBCs are transferred, there is no such tension because RBCs doesn't contain DNA, whereas the donor DNA persists for a number of days or months. So in that case, whether there is any problem. Now, WBCs are the main source of the DNA, but there is no such problem because at a time during transfusion, about 300 ml of blood will be transfused to the recipient. And in that case, there will be always a dominance of recipient's own DNA. In that case, the donor DNA do not show any effect on the recipient. So in today's session, we studied some of the aspects related to blood and its transfusion. Now, how frequently a person can donate a blood? Now, it depends upon the type of the blood transfusion. For example, if it is a whole blood transfusion, a person can donate the blood once in 3 months because so much of time is required in order to restore the iron stock of the body. Whereas if it is a platelet donation, in that case, it can be done once in 2 weeks. So the platelet donors can donate up to 24 times in an year. And while donating, it is very important to have a healthy condition. You cannot donate a blood if you are suffering from any health complications such as infection, sore throat, cold, etc. And if you have recently had a tattoo or body piercing, in that condition also, up to 6 months, blood donation should not be done. So in 1907, the first successful blood transfusion was carried out in Mount Sinai Hospital of New York. So since then, millions of times the transfusions have been carried out and that might have helped a number of patients throughout the world. So we need to thank Karl Landsteiner for discovering the ABO system as well as the RH system of blood grouping, and that helped to save the lives of millions of individuals. So on his birthday, let us pledge to give blood and to keep the world beating. On this occasion, I would like to thank the principal, IQSC coordinator, and all the organizing committee members of SK College of Arts, Commerce and Science for organizing this one-day webinar on Know Your Blood and providing me a chance to share my views regarding this particular topic. My special thanks to Mr. Kashinath B. Desai, who was my zoology student in Alvas from 2016 to 2018, who is currently the head of the Department of Zoology in SK College, who is instrumental in conducting this webinar. And my sincere thanks to all the fellow participants of this webinar for your patient listening. I would be happier to answer your queries. Let us donate blood and keep the world beating. Thank you.